Cool. Yes, people, what's good? How's everyone doing? All the people that are tuning in, all the people that are watching, I hope you guys are safe. I hope your families are safe. Guys, how's it going?
We good, man. We out here.
Renee, how are you?
I'm very, very well. I'm blessed.
What's cooking?
Did you say what's cooking?
I said, what's cooking?
I'm not cooking anything today, sadly. I baked something a couple days ago, but
I was gonna ask, but please go ahead.
no, I haven't baked anything today. I told you guys I made cupcakes a couple of days ago. Oh, I made the sprinkle cake as well. That was fun.
What was it?
Yeah.
There was no fruit on it.
There was absolutely not a single piece of fruit.
Yeah, that's one cake that I can mess with. I'm gonna lie. I think actually it's more the nostalgia of way back primary school times that will make me even mess with it now. But to go and spend my money to buy it, I'm sorry. I can't do that.
Yeah, for those who are listening, Shegs only eats cakes that have fruit on it. It's a real one.
Pause.
It's a real one.
Now the dessert has to have fruit. If it doesn't, then it's a bit bland to me. It's just sugar.
Oh.
Diabetes.
Oh, really?
You're trying to get your 5 a day, innit?
Yeah, by any means necessary. By any means. By any means.
Are you selective with your fruit as well? Or is it just any fruit that goes on the cake?
Variety. Quite a few different. I've been exploring past. Since
exploring.
Yeah, because some of these fruits, you're not limited to pineapple and mango. There's a lot of fruits. I can name 5 fruits that you guys have never even heard of, and you actually have to look around. Have you heard of a mangosteen?
Yeah.
Ooh,
have you tried a mangosteen? Have you tried a mangosteen before?
Nah, I haven't.
Oh. Have you tried a mangosteen, Renee?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think of it?
I had it at a really fancy dinner at university. The dessert was mango seed and dark chocolate, something silly.
No, not mango seed, mangosteen.
Mango who?
Steen. Mangosteen. Mangosteen.
Never mind. No, I haven't tried it.
This is arguably probably one of the best fruits around. In terms of taste, it kind of tastes like a pear, pineapple, mango, banana, all in one. Is weird. It's weird. And it's very rare.
Yeah, I love your facial expressions, I'll show you afterwards, yeah. I actually made a collage, while I was editing last video of your facial expressions. Amazing.
Wow.
I'm very expressive, People I've gotten this all my life. People are like, Renee, your facial expressions are so great. And I'm just like, I just can't help it. I can't help it.
Well,
so
yeah, there's a lot of exotic and a lot of rare fruits out there as well. Sometimes you have to go hunting, go to certain markets because not all of them are easily accessible, especially at a time like this as well. You can't access a lot of these other fruits. But yeah, there's quite a few. I'll give you guys a little bundle. Have some snake fruit there.
Post lockdown, I want a fruit cake with the exotic fruits on the top.
No, I won't put that. I want to put in a fruit cake. I want you to experience the flavors by themselves, so you can see.
I would also like it on the cake though.
On the cake.
You're the doctor of all trades, so we have a high standard for you.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
We have a high standard of you, bro. So you have to.
What I mean?
You have to eclipse it.
Don't worry. I'll do this, man. I don't disappoint. Would
you like to share your new slogan that we discovered recently?
My new slogan.
Yeah.
What's my new slogan?
What was it again? I'm not gonna forget. I've done this. I've been doing this. I've done this. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I want on the back of my hoodie as well.
Oh, here we go. Imagine a man quoting himself on the back of his hoodie. You just can't. You can't make that up, can you?
In fact, I don't want it at the back. I want it in the front. I want everyone to see this. I want everyone to know. Why do both your heads just lean to the side? Like, let me also lean my head as well. But yeah, cool. Let's get into the topic of today. Let's get into the discussion. Ellie, you're gonna have to remind me one more time. Well, it's written. I've got it in my head, but the way you worded it is perfect.
Before actually, I remind you about that. Oh, Renee, maybe that's the signal she's giving me as well. This is the first official episode.
Oh yeah.
We have an amazing.
This is what happens when you're just here gallivanting, talking about it.
No.
I love that this is all going on. I love it. Carry on, mate.
Oh my days. Yeah, I completely forgot. But yeah, go on, do the introduction. I thought you were doing the introduction.
Now you got to put me. So this is the first official episode that we have. Amazing. Would I say cast member?
Class member?
Cast, man.
Oh, class. I'm about to say.
No. This ain't X-Men.
I ain't trying to go to Central Foundation.
Wow.
What do you mean? Don't do that. I hope you know a lot of them are listening in right now, so
probably so.
That's okay. I've got crowd for days, an STA girl. Well, I can hold the corn.
Okay.
I can hold it.
So this is the first official episode that we have on with Renee as an official member of the Unscripted gang, the Unscripted club, Unscripted.
Round of applause, please. Where's the sound thing?
You know what? I need to put that probably in the next episode or something.
Yeah.
No, but we just it happened in a very unconventional way. But again, I guess with life, even most times the best things, you come across without necessarily having a plan or whatnot. And from when we did our first episode, which I apologize again this time, everyone can hear me, everyone can see me, that unfortunately, right, smiling, shaking, please.
Yeah.
Smiling. Oh, the thing's ringing. Great. Okay.
Oh, put down the sound back.
Hashtag.
It's delivery, apparently.
Oh.
Okay. What was that? So it happened in a very unconventional way, but it was.
Is this enemy of progress at your door? What's going on?
I do not know. Sorry. I don't know what's happening.
Sorry.
Anyway, where was I? So, see, things just keep happening. Things keep happening to slow down progress. So, the way that it happened was very unconventional, was very out of the norm to say so. I think we just got one episode in. Apologies, even those who are listening, watching this, will not be able to watch the gem, but we believe that certain things happen for a reason. So we're trying to look at it from a positive angle. I guess that's the best thing I can say to save myself from the error that was made in that day. But Renee, we have you on. That first episode was dope. Publicly, I think we can even go on record to even share your dopeness, to give you the props, and just to welcome you on. I think, I don't know what else Shagan wants to say, but we're actually looking for a female to jump on. Oh, she's laughing.
No, this sounds like the speeches that someone gives at a wedding or a graduation.
Yeah. I might even cut this out a bit. I don't know. See how I'm feeling.
I'm enjoying it. No, keep going. I'm enjoying it.
Actually looking to get a female on for a couple months. It's kind of been me and Sheg's secret lookout, whatnot, or I don't know. And we wanted to see people in their natural habitats and stuff like that. And you just, I can say, surpassed everything. So we are actually very
Don't gas her up too much now.
I know.
Don't gas her up too much now.
I'm trying.
Please.
I'm not trying. But we are actually privileged and happy, to have you on. So, yeah. I know Shag's probably just going to add on, yeah, an okay or something like that. He's crossing his arms.
Mine doesn't want to gas me up. I'm listening. Shags, what did you want to say? I'm listening. What did you want to say about me?
I just want to say, yeah, I agree with what Ellie was saying, innit?
That's what you really should have. You just have, yeah.
Nah, I'm joking. Nah, it was, like Ellie was saying, it was a very just natural process. And like, it was weird because it came at such an uncertain time and such a weird time. We all know what's going on with this whole coronavirus thing. And we kind of even like, kind of forgot about it, like trying to find the next, like a new member, someone else that could just add another dynamic. And then Renee came along and, she fit the criteria. Very intelligent, articulate, argumentative person. So, yeah, that's the unscripted criteria. And she ticked the boxes. So, welcome to the party.
Thanks, guys. Can I get like this clip of the recording, like just for my personal reminders? Because I just feel like
can this bit go missing?
Can this
bit go missing? Can we make that happen?
Can it go missing? You said.
Can it go missing? Just that little last 2 minutes.
This is Shagun finally experiencing his vulnerability. So I want to make sure that I have this clip for my personal, just to remind.
We'll sort something out. This is on record anyway, so hey.
To be here, guys. Like, I'm so excited. I very much, it even feels moist saying this. I very much felt the same way, and yeah, you two guys it seems like you guys are on the precipice of doing something amazing with this, and I just love the whole concept, and I'm so excited to be down and engaging with you guys. I can't wait to argue. I mean, engage.
Ooh, would you like to give the audience a little background check is not the word, but a bit of background, where you come from, in the hood. No, not the hood.
Man said, give a CRB.
Where you come from, what you're about.
CRB.
Your journey a bit. Yeah, let us know, man.
Okay, all right. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Renee. Pleasure to be on Unscripted. In terms of my journey, I think it will make more sense for me to just start from beginning to end. So I am born and raised in Tottenham, North London. That's my end. Love it there. Very, very proud Tottenham girl.
Sorry, I have to.
Very proud Tottenham girl. I went to secondary school, ended up going to Oxford for my undergrad, and that was when kind of like all of my interests and I guess all of the things that I do now kind of started. So I started things like YouTube, I started blogging, writing, speaking, a whole number of just like different projects whilst I was at Oxford, and then went off to do my master's at Harvard for a year. And then returned from Harvard a couple of months ago, and I'm currently again still working on like projects and stuff. So at the moment, doing a lot of like consultations with startups, working in the tech field, doing a lot of like project stuff. And I'm passionate about young people. I'm passionate about public policy. I'm passionate about productivity. So that is a comprehensive biography of me.
Love that. And the country you're from, please. Another, if I can say, ironic happening or whatever.
Well, I am half Nigerian and half Congolese, so the best of both worlds, the clash of the two titans, whatever you want to call it, which is actually hilarious considering that Ellie is Congolese.
Yep. Even though
From Nigeria,
and even though Shagan and Renee have their differences of like, you know, other things in that matter, but come from the same place.
wait, is this the sound bites, yeah?
I'm actually fixing up right now, actually. I'm linking it to my iPad.
It sounds like a car crash.
Sorting it out right now, mate. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, Sheg, you wanted to get into the topic.
Okay, what is that? Like Looney Tunes?
Wait, Looney Tunes?
That was so Dusty. I hope you know that was Dusty.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Looney Tunes. I love Looney Tunes.
Boy.
You know, one of the highlights of my childhood.
Childhood. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Wait. You were talking about Looney Tunes. They're finally bringing out the new Space Jam. Well, they're planning to. With LeBron.
Yeah.
Space Jam.
Renee, you watch Space Jam?
I have, of course. Who hasn't watched Space Jam?
You didn't say anything, so I have to just like clarify.
Make sure. You have to make sure.
Wow. You guys are already trying to out me as a pagan already.
Nah, not even.
I'm trying to fix this.
This guy said a thing.
Forget
about it, man. Forget about it.
Bro, before this time, oh my god.
It sounds like static. It doesn't even sound like a chair.
I know. I need to actually find the software to put on the laptop. It's external, innit? So hey.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Cool. I guess we'll jump onto the topic of the day. So, trying to figure out a title for this. As sometimes me and Shegs try and think about the title even after the episodes.
A lot of the time it does have to come after the episode because sometimes we go on a crazy tangent. But yeah.
But if you haven't watched the episode Music, Race and VAR, you're missing out.
Yeah.
That's the epitome.
That's
finding a title for these things.
But yeah, I think the topic is very synonymous with for those who listen to Jizzy Drake. By the way, he dropped a project recently which I need to listen to. Is it good?
It was interesting. It was alright.
Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't like
it wasn't all that for me, but
one of Views.
It was calm.
Was it like Views?
No, I said it wasn't a Views.
Do you guys think Views was a good album?
I think it was calm again, but for me, I still say I'll go back to like the old thing. Take Care. Nothing was the same. Even Thank Me Later. That's my kind of Drake. I don't know whether I say this because like I can put myself in a certain time, like when I was listening to these, so it has like more of a nostalgic effect. But I don't know, now it's just like, yeah. Still my guy, but like, yeah.
Do you know what? For a long time, I thought Views was
Views is good. Views is good, no.
I thought it was a very average album. But then after, I remember like friend. Wait, hold on. Listen. When that album came out, you guys cannot lie to me and say that it didn't get a lot of stick, a lot of hate. It did. They got a lot of it.
It did get a little bit. I won't say a lot of hate. Like you couldn't hate it. Like it wasn't a bad album.
Some people were saying it was one of his worst. Like
that's because they heard it once. They didn't marinate in the album.
And that's because the albums before Views were better. I still think they are better. Take Care is better. Nothing Was the Same as better. Thank Me Later was better than Views. Like Drake would tell you that himself, man. So I get what they were saying. They're probably expecting something more better. They're expecting him to outdo himself, but is what it is. But Views is good. Views is good, man. Views is good.
I feel like Views was the pivotal moment where his career really took off in the mainstream. Like, I think before that, all of his albums were good, but they really like spoke to a very specific audience. Whereas I feel like Views was the one that catapulted like Drake to like international success.
And that's what a lot of people, and that's where a lot of people were like, is this Drake guy really the guy? Like, since he's trying to try all these other styles, since he's trying to do all of this, and like, that's when a lot of people were thinking that, yeah, this guy sold out in terms of his sound and all this kind of stuff. And like, he wasn't writing these bars and all of this kind of stuff. That's when all of that stuff started to arise. I mean,
I hear that. I really hate when people do that though. Like, I hate the whole like, oh, he's a sellout. Like, are artists not allowed to experiment with their sound?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't understand that term. I don't think like you can even really use. Obviously, there are some examples, but in general, music number one is all about influence and your inspirations, and everything has already been created. Everything has there's only what A to G when it comes to notes. So every sound has pretty much kind of been created. Now, what people do is just use something to influence something else. So I don't think you can really say that anyone is really kind of just being a vulture, since your influence, you yourself is influenced by someone else. I don't know, man. That's a topic for another day. I'm not gonna wait because I can go on and on about this thing, man. I can go on and on and on.
But what I would say is that I was one of those people who thought, it was a bit average.
No wonder you were keeping quiet there, Ellie. We saw you, man. We saw you.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think around that time, I was also, I can say, ascending in my musical hearing and listening, and realizing that albums, like books, should not be judged by their cover, and also need the time to, as you mentioned, Renee, marinate in our ears and our minds, maybe some in our lives as well. So, but no, I was actually, if I can say, G-checked or whatever by a friend or so who actually broke down to me, the track list on that album to show that it was really good, from the intro, Keep the Family Close.
Yep.
Main hits of that summer, Controller, One Dance.
Yes, as in all the iconic Drake.
Western Road Flows.
You With Me.
You With Me.
Still Here, Grammys. Even the single that came out before Hotline Bling. Yeah.
Yep.
When you broke it,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I even like the interlude. What was it? Summer's Over. The interlude.
Yeah. With Majiju.
Yeah.
Underrated.
It was a good album, man. It was good. It was definitely good. But for me, I'm just saying that the three that I mentioned, I still think they are better. But it was a very good album. It was a solid album, but just not his best.
I can vibes with Thank Me Later. I think for me, Views and Thank Me Later. The rest, yeah.
Really? Even
not even Take Care.
Supposed classic Take Care.
I feel like it was very for me it was very moist and
No, that's true. That's fair. That's a fair point.
Really?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
There was just the whole load of singing on it.
Wait,
no, that's the truth.
You liked it? I don't get it. I'm confused.
No, but I'm not saying that I don't like it. I liked it. I like it. That's what I'm saying. But it's true what you're saying. It was a very singy album. It was. He pretty much only rapped on that three tracks.
Like it was very melodic. It was
That's why I still don't think it's still not my best album. My best album still for me, Drake album, is Thank Me Later, because it just had the right balance of everything for me personally. And even at the time, it just takes me back to a very cool time. Like, anyway, no worries, no stress. What was that, like 2011 or something like that? Like, I didn't have anything to do. Yeah, man. Just chilling. Life was fun. Life was good. Yeah. So, yeah, it just reminds me of a good time. But Thank Me Later. No, not Thank Me Later. Take Care. You have to put Take Care up there, man. Take Care was probably the album that kind of just took him to another level. Like, that's when people knew who Drake was, from Take Care.
Yeah, I hear that, but he was just in his feelings, man. It was very, I wasn't trying to hear that all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Me, I was trying to hear that, man. I was trying to hear that. That was good stuff.
You know what? I think it was the closest Drake's ever wrote an album to Conscious. Like, the closest ever. Ever. Yeah. That's why I liked it. Renee does not agree. Wow.
He does not agree. Wow. Nah.
no.
What album is more closest to Conscious for Drake? In Take Care. Would you like to?
None.
Huh?
To Conscious.
Yeah, to Conscious. Like, the closest thing to. I'm not saying it was. I'm saying it was the closest thing to it by him in terms of project.
I could agree with that. I'll agree with that because, like, even though a lot of it was just talk about heartbreak and,
this guy was in his
It was in his feelings. It was in his feelings, but
that, what do you call it? Voicemails that he left his ex. Conscious.
That is a part of Conscious. I do believe
that is Conscious.
It's part of it.
Yeah, it is.
You don't.
Do you know why? It's because when I hear Conscious, the first album that I just think in my head is High Power by Kendrick Lamar.
Okay, that's.
Yeah.
So then when you say it's the closest to Conscious, I was like, no. No.
I don't know if you can understand when I'm saying, like, it's not Conscious, but it's the closest thing, if I can say so. Because
I hear what you're saying in terms of sound, like, he wasn't just rapping hard, like, it was more melodical and more kind of.
What songs were like close to consciousness, and like what was?
You're forgetting Andre 3000 was on that album,
Yeah.
Andre 3000 doesn't just feature.
But doesn't that
one of my best verses as well?
What was the album?
Sorry?
Say that again?
Doesn't that say something? The fact that I forgot he was on the album.
That's crazy. That's mad. That's crazy. That showed me that you didn't listen to that album before. You can't listen to it. That's homework.
Because I ain't trying to hear none of that, up in his ex. I ain't.
No, come on, man. Come on. You can't be knocking Take Care like that, man. You can't. You just can't. You just can't.
Some of you guys are really marinating in that heartbreak, innit?
No. It was just good, isn't it? It was good stuff.
Don't worry, we went like wiping our eyes and stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that.
You man had the headphones on, you were listening to music in bed, just one small teardrop rolling down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like, I think Marvin's room. I think one tear rolled down there. Just tap my teeth. I'm gonna go like. But yeah. That's the past, isn't it? That's the past.
Oh, mad. Okay, cool. Trying to get back onto on point, on track, on the path. So synonymous with one of Drake's famous lines that at least resonates with me. I can't remember what song it's from, but he has a line that really sticks with me, which is he relates it to sports, how, musicians want to be athletes want to be them. And I think it was a kind of double meaning thing as well, where he was trying to convey the image of, a certain group of people, society or whatnot, want to be like people who are in public eye, etc., etc. And they also want to be kind of like us, where life is kind of more stripped back. That's pretty much it. Probably we're going to think about the title later on, but that's the main topic, pretty much, to have like a conversation about that. And the interesting facts, even like as you grow up, you start to experience different things in life, to see that, regarding certain things, the grass is not always greener on the other side. which is quite interesting too. So yeah, I thought we'd talk about that. Has
I
anyone
think you said it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I think you said it. Like the grass ain't always greener. All that glitters is not gold. There's so many different statements and quotes and so many different things that we like. What do they even call those things again? Not riddles. What they called? Wise words, sayings that we heard that kind of just depict what you're saying. And I think that is true. I feel like it's just human nature to always look on the outside and just be like, yeah, that person is enjoying life. That person is living good. We want to have the money. The people that have the money, we want the money, we want the fame. The people that have the money and the fame don't want the fame anymore because it's an inconvenience. You can't just go out and you can't live your life according to the way you want to live it. Paparazzi are all in your face. But for us, we're like, oh fam, you got that money, like what? How can you be complaining? Like life is good, you know what I mean? But like even like for me as well, like there's been so many times where I'll be like, right, look at this person's living, this person's doing things, but like I just have to snap out of it and just be like, wait, let me be content with what I've got. Like I'm alive, I'm all right, I'm not suffering, I'm not on the streets, I'm not sick. Like when you actually realize what's good in your life, I feel like you kind of develop a sense of like, yeah, I'm content, I'm good. You get what I'm saying?
No, it even brings up a very, if I can say, not really contradictory, but a very classic track by J. Cole, Love Yours. So
Love Yours.
Yes.
That thing is playing in my head now.
That's actually a classic.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that I guess I don't know, but I came across this quote a couple of weeks ago. Someone who basically saying how he doesn't think of any man more than himself or lower than himself. He thinks that everyone is the same. So in that way, it gives him a perspective of life that is very, if I can say, consistent. That makes sense. And I think like just trying to adopt that kind of focus for myself as well. It makes it easier to manage when, like you said, Shakes, you get, the thought or the idea that maybe it's not to say that we can't aspire to have certain things or be certain places, but to have, if I can say, I think maybe insecurity is too harsh a word to use, but to have that, if I can say, want for something so much, have that want so much inside of you that it kind of takes your focus away from what you already have, in that kind of way. And you can even, lose part of what makes you you in that kind of sense.
I feel like happiness is I think where a lot of people get confused, at least in my opinion, is they think of happiness as something to be pursued rather than a choice. I think if many of us decided or chose to be happy, as you were both saying, with what, our lot / what we have, then it would make our lives a lot easier. And I think tangential, but very much related to this whole idea of, somebody's got it better than me, is the fact that, again, we only have access to what people choose to show about themselves. And I think with some social media, for example, where people only show their highlights reel, right? Like even when people are trying to be transparent, they've still actively chosen to show that element of their story or their journey with us. So many of us are bound by our perceptions of a person at a particular time, which is why it makes it so much easier for people to, for example, have, super materialistic goals. They see a couple and think that their marriage is blessed when really, one of them could be cheating or one of them is dealing with some kind of issue, but we don't see that. Or, somebody wants, a new Lamborghini, not knowing that the person that's posted it on their Instagram is, £1,000 in debt trying to pay off their car finance. And it becomes very dangerous when we base our happiness on what people choose to share with us and being critical. And like I feel like the best example that I can use is when we see relationship goals on like Twitter or Instagram, right? We'll see like somebody who even know is toxic, like Future and I don't know, Lori Harvey, like goals, or we see like a couple like Cardi B and one of the what's his name, Takeoff.
Offset.
Whichever. I just know somebody gonna come for me. Listen, I'm not into coach. I'm not all up in their business like that, so I don't even know their names. Yeah, we see them and we think, right, I want to look like that, or I want to have that relationship, not knowing that what they've chosen to show us is only a small part of their reality. Which is why we always get into this weird binary of you engage with these people and they tell you, do you know what? Yeah, my life is actually not that great. But because we've only seen what they've showed us, we assume that all things are, you know, glittery and as you said, not everything that glitters is gold. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's true, especially that point you mentioned in regards to people show you what they want you to see. I think it's so easy to just forget that, you know, sometimes. And I think if all of us, you know, related that to ourselves, for example, you know, we have our good days, our bad days, etc., etc. We need to ask ourselves even like, what are we showing, or what would we normally show other people? Normally our best, you know. It's not really in our nature to always show our vulnerable sides or show, you know, openly the things that we're not good at. We always want to portray ourselves in like the best kind of light. So I think sometimes it's so easy for people, for us, to fall into the trap of taking that for face value, to just thinking at, you know, like even an example you gave of a couple thinking, you know what, they look like they're having a fun time, a great time, like, oh, that's what I want, you know. And ironically, I actually even came across some news end of last week, I think, that, what's it? I don't know if you guys have heard about this red table thing that Jaden Pickett does with
Yeah.
and the grandmother. Yeah, so news popped up on my phone that apparently Jaden Pinkett said that she doesn't know who her husband Will Smith is, even though they've been married for like 23 years. And I thought, oh, you know what, is this really real? But I went to the video, you know, and she said it. She said like this lockdown has actually made her realize that she doesn't know him. And, you know, the things that she was mentioning, like that happens in relationships, but she was mentioning things that, okay, this is not stuff that you really should, I can't really say like a level, but this is not really stuff that, you know, it's kind of normal to be going through when you're 23 years together, you know. Things like he's in a process now where he needs to learn to, of course, this is a daily thing, like to learn to love yourself, but in the context of like you not having any idea of who the person that you've been living with for the last 2 decades plus is, that's a bit mad. And that might be like on the extreme, you know, of that spectrum, but depending on how some people see it, that's just one example, you know, of like, it's not always.
That's mad. I don't even feel like that's even an extreme example. I feel that's a perfect example because, like, on the face, like, you'll think, okay, yeah, these lot have been married for so long, they're successful, and their kids are successful to an extent, everyone's doing well in the family. Yeah, these lot are goals, like, rah, these lot are actually goals, a black couple, strong. Yeah, like, you think, yeah, these lot are actually doing well for themselves, but then, like, to actually hear something like that, like a woman that's been married for how long saying that she doesn't even know her husband, wait, that's mad. That's mad. And this is what a lot of people are aspiring to be. They'll be like, oh, I wish I could have a marriage like the Smiths. Like, and they'll be praying for something like that. When you don't even know what is actually even happening, what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah,
it's just mad. Like, why do you guys think like we just always want to? I don't know. Like, we're not happy with ourselves. Like, we always want to aspire to be someone else or be in someone else's shoes. Like, where does this stem from?
I think a big part of it is just the insecurities that society, reflects on us. I think from young age, when you're going to school and you see your friends with the new, like, back in when you went to school, like having kickers, like if you had kickers, you had kickers.
You're the guy.
Boy, you had kickers, you were a celebrity.
Yeah, for real.
The reflective, the golden or the tag or whatever. Like,
come on.
Yo, with the coloured laces. What?
Come on.
Like you were doing something, but then again, like I guess you're a kid back then, but you could really, maybe even envy or really want, let's say just really want what your classmate, whoever has at that point. But you don't know that their parents are probably going through a divorce. And I know some people might still like hear this or watch this and say, that's maybe too deep to look at it. But at the same time, I think we don't enough, take a step back to see the bigger picture, on things. We just see, like, again, just face value of what we're shown or what we see, what we want. It's like we take the good and then leave everything out. Like, I don't want to hear it, but you don't understand that, some things, there's more that kind of meets the eye, what's behind what we normally see.
It's weird, like, even that kickers example is funny because it's so weird, like, having kickers was like, okay, yeah, you're acceptable, like, you're a guy. But anyway, I remember there was even one guy, I'm not mentioning his name, I might tell you Ellie after, but I remember he used to have kickers like every single term, every new term, yeah, like, so the summer term, Christmas term, all of those terms, Easter term, like, he will have a new pair of kickers. And I remember, like, he used to collect all the tags. So I remember there was one day they just wore like a pair of kickers with like 5-6 tags on it. I was like, rah, this guy is cool. It's so funny. And like, I was thinking, rah, man, this guy's got keys. I wish I could be like this guy. And like, it's like from even a young age, like, it's been instilled in us that, yeah, certain things make you the man, make you like you're cool, you're acceptable. So it's just like, boy, now, like, where now social media is around, like, for me, it's not even like with like all the mental health issues and all this kind of stuff. I don't feel like this is something that we've been going through, yeah, like even before social media even came about. So like now when you're seeing like now mental health issues now even increase and being on the rise and even talked about more, I don't feel like it's even shocking stuff. Like, this was all stuff that is being built up and being in people's minds. These are all things that have been affecting people for a long time.
I agree. I have so many like thoughts to that point. I'm gonna try and arrange them well. So the first thing that I thought of was just how we often covet things alongside kind of like societal constructs, which is something that you both touched on, actually. So the fact that as a kid, you're looking at somebody that has kickers and you're just thinking, right, I want to be the popular person. I want to have, X, Y, Z. It made me think of things like Instagram as a female, like how, like, what is seen as, beautiful or attractive, a girl wearing XYZ dress or dressed a certain way or like with a certain shape is accepted, and how there's literally flocks of people who are either gymming or like getting like plastic surgery and stuff because they want to be coveted or they want to like partake in the culture that celebrates that specific body type or that specific hair type or that specific skin type or whatever. And then for guys, I don't really want to speak on you guys, but I feel like for guys it tends to be a lot more materialistic. So who has who has the most stuff or who can stunt the best, that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how societal constructs of like manhood and womanhood and like other kind of like demographics feed into this whole, I want to look like this person because this person represents what is cool in society for my like demographic, my age at that particular time. And it's really, really unfortunate. And then just how like it's become like in terms of like mental health and how that's exacerbated that issue. I think it's gotten worse in this generation because I've always said that there's this weird thing that social media does to people where we forget that people are humans behind the screens. Because like when it's like a face-to-face situation, or like when I'm seeing something and engaging with that person, I can at least think, oh, maybe, you know, I know a little bit of that person. I can see them as a human. But I think sometimes when we engage with people through social media, we go through this weird process where we forget that they might be dealing with, you know, XYZ. And even the way that we talk about them is sometimes so disrespectful. Like, I just think about celebrities, like, I think of people like Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, just the Kardashian family in general. And sometimes I wonder, like, how must it feel to like open the news, open up social media or whatever platform and see the way that people are speaking about you as if you're not human, as if you're not going through certain things. But then on the flip side, people are literally like dying to be like you. Like, I've seen so many like Kardashian copycats. I've seen so many guys that look up to Kanye West. So how there's on the one side, there's the people that are trying to be like the people in power that are, you know, trying to copy them and trying to, you know, get access to that. But on the other hand, there's also the people that have been like pushed up and raised up to this like level of influence. And I just wonder, like, how do you guys deal with this weird entitlement people feel to your lives like that? It's a bit mad.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting thing, to be honest, because again, I think this is a skill that I've tried to like develop over the last few years, you know, is to actually place myself in the driver's seat of somebody else's life, to try and process things if I was in their position, receiving, let's say, let's say in this context, as you mentioned, Renee, the social pushback that they're receiving, how would I kind of react to it? You know, it's easy.
Even death threats. That's just mental.
Because I think it's easy to, you know, as you said, to fall into the trap where you think they're superhuman or they don't have any feelings, they're not receptive to things as we are, but actually they bleed the same color blood as we do. And, you know, if you just put yourself in the shoes, for example, of how we sometimes speak about them, or, you know, that might be in a respectful way, and ask yourself, you know, if there were X, Y, and Z, might be okay. People say, oh, you know, I don't care what people can say. Sticks and stones will break my bones, wherever. But if you put yourself in the position where everyone in your comment section, you know, is throwing hate, you know, at you or pressurizing you, you know, in one way or another, how would you feel about it? How would you feel about it? And you can't control, you know, their perception of you at the same time. You know, I think that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, even the everyday tasks, they cannot fulfill it the same way that we would fulfill it. Like, every time you step out of the house, you need security. Without security, every time you step out of the house, you are literally risking your life. Like, even just little things like that, like even being able to have like relationships with even other family members, is all very deep stuff when you actually think about it. But then so many people then aspire to be in these positions just because of the kind of like material stuff that you see, like the material possessions and all that kind of stuff. It's mad. It's actually mad. Even me myself now, I'm thinking, I'm like kind of checking myself even as I'm talking as well. Like, because I feel like all of us, like everyone as humans, we are susceptible to an extent, but it's all like most of these conversations, and it's all about like just checking yourself, I feel like, and just trying to remind yourself what is actually your purpose, what are you actually trying to pursue, what good are you bringing to the world, what good are you bringing to those around you, kind of thing.
I think
just a few of us like practice gratitude, because I think it's the classic like 80-20 split, where I think about like okay, this is entirely the wrong analogy to use, but say say a partner goes off and cheats on their partner. The analogy they always use is you've left the 80% chasing the 20%. And I think for many of us, we don't practice gratitude and we don't really appreciate a lot of the things that we have because we're so over familiar with them and we don't honor them. And I think because over familiarity breeds content, I think that many of us would do well to kind of like practice gratitude with the things that we do have, because not everybody has that. Like some like I hate to be like a comparison / oppression Olympics whatever, but there's so much that we do have that we just don't appreciate, that we don't honor. And the things that you don't honor or the things that you don't respect eventually disappear. So it's not a surprise when you see like, you know, partners going off and cheating on other partners and their partners then leave because they didn't honor their partner. Or, you know, in the pursuit of all of these materialistic things that a lot of people are like coveting, it's so funny that in the pursuit of all of these like menial things, you often lose the things that actually matter in life after all. And it's funny because I was reading this report where they did an interview with a couple of old people, and they were reflecting on their life and like what was the most important things to them. And across the board, it was, you know, relationships with my family, you know, little things like seeing, you know, their daughter smile, or, you know, being able to share a moment with, you know, their partner or whatever. And it's funny because in terms of like G-checking myself in the same way that you do, Shagan, I often think like, in the long term, is this helping me fulfill my purpose? Is this going to help me feel as though I had lived a fulfilling and impactful life when all is said and done, or when I'm old or no longer able to do these things? And if the answer is no, then gotta keep it pushing.
That's true. That's very true. And I think as well, is, you know, going back to the point you made before regarding like these societal pressures and constructs, is also, do you want that life, or do you want this XYZ? Even though it might be a good thing, but do you want it for truly the benefit of yourself, those around you? Or is it simply, you know, to just put yourself, you know, in place of that person, you know, so people can look at you in that same way, you know? And then it probably even goes in, you know, as deep as, you know, even the point you just mentioned now of, so then how do you see yourself? You know, how do you love yourself? How are you showing gratitude to the things that you have? You know, maybe you're not appreciating them as much as you should do. That's why you're looking elsewhere for something that you think is concrete, but in actual fact, it probably isn't so. Or maybe it's not even bad, but, you know, you kind of, you're trying to build on top of like hollow ground, you know, something that's not really as stable, you know, as it should be. So anything that you do build, even though it might be good, you know, that construct is going to collapse anyway. So
I feel like all of this just leads to like even a deeper problem as well, where people are kind of pursuing things that are more tangible things, tangible possessions, but they're trying to pursue these things in unrealistic time constraints. Like, I mean, that forces them to go and do things that they wouldn't necessarily do. But because they want to have this look, they want to have this thing, they go and, you know, bank fraud. They go and get involved in things that they shouldn't get involved in because they see these items and they want to have these items because that's the cool thing to do. So I guess people you lose in the long run. I feel like you either lose control of yourself, you lose control of your life in a sense, because you yourself again do not have an identity of your own. You're trying to fit into a mold of what seems to be acceptable. So you yourself are not even yourself. You are not in the driving seat.
Oh, it's true. It's most definitely true. I think it's so easy to think that you are, because maybe, you know, on your way to becoming something that you're not, there are people around you egging you on, etc., etc. Which,
this guy's cool.
Keep it up.
But then when you
My guy.
when you arrive there, or you get to see how magic really works. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you see all these magic tricks, but when you actually get to know how this really works, you're like, oh, like, really? Was this?
That was trash.
Is that it?
Was this what I've been like coveting, wanting, you know, chasing for so long to want, you know, when actually, even though it might be good, but it's not too far from what I have, or, you know, chasing that so much has made me like appreciate and value like the things around me that are probably most important as well.
It's so true. And I think that... Go on.
Go on.
Gentlemen, aren't ya?
Of course I am, man. Look at me.
I was just gonna say, have I even lost my point? Imagine. I know exactly what I was gonna say. Essentially, a lot of us chase these things because we see them without the responsibility that they carry, right? So the fact that we're coveting, you know, the relationship without coveting the hard work that goes into maintaining a relationship, or, you know, coveting the house without understanding that, you know, mortgage payments, or, you know, that deposit is going to be hefty. I think because we see things devoid of context and devoid of the responsibility, because I strongly believe that with every level up comes a new level of responsibility. And people always show you the thing and not the responsibility that comes with it. So we see the glamour, we see the glitz, but we don't see the weighty accountability and the weighty like responsibility that comes with it. So I wish, it's almost like viewing something without reading the terms and conditions. And by the time that you read it, it's too late because you own it.
I'm just really been nodding and smiling, because I think I was even going to tell you that people don't see the price that you have to pay, you know, to even be in this position, or to have the certain things that you might want. I mean, maybe not necessarily might be wrong, but people like, they subtract that and they just see what they want to see. They don't understand that, and they're not, you know, as a result, they're not honest with themselves.
True. I feel like even like a time like this, I feel like this has been a time for reflection. Like, especially with like a couple of people that I've even been speaking to as well. They've spoken to me, and it's like this whole time being stuck at home, or the whole lockdown thing or whatever, like, it's actually kind of just refocus them into like what they should actually be pursuing, and like what is their purpose in life, like what do they actually want to do. Because when you think about it, like we can't go out to any motives, like we can't like the traditional places like where you would show off all of these possessions and like all of this kind of stuff, you cannot really do it. So like in the end, it's like, okay, these are just things, that kind of thing. These are just things, like they're not actually a deep thing. But I feel like even me myself, like it's kind of like just re-illustrated like the whole like values that I should actually kind of hold on to and grasp kind of thing. Like even to do with like relationships with like family, with friends, and all of this kind of stuff. Like I feel like it's just told me like, okay, cool, this is life. There's some things that are important, there's some things that they're cool, but it's nothing, they're meaningless at the end of it. Like, think about it, yeah. Okay, have you ever had like a mad stomachache here? Like, you're just on the toilet. You don't think about nothing, man. You don't think about nothing. You're in pain, man. I know this is not the most pleasant description, but I feel like we've all been there. Like, you're not thinking, are you thinking about, oh yeah, I need to buy this whip? Like, fam, you're just trying to get better.
Wow.
Wasn't the best example, but we've been there, man. We've been there.
Wow. So I'm just deep in it.
gosh.
As mad as that example is, though, it's so true. I think it's just so true.
Oh.
It is still laughing.
No, do you know how funny it is? It's because it's so accurate. Do you know how stressful it is?
It's stress. It's actually stress. At that moment, those moments, you're not thinking of anything else. Because it's a struggle. It's a real struggle. Oh, man. Oh, good.
My jaw's starting to hurt.
Wow.
No, but it's true, right? Even as as different as that example.
I don't know why that even came to mind, but yeah, man.
You got something on your mind right now?
No, not even. I don't just think about, yeah. Hey, let's move on.
Wow. Sorry. Oh, my head is hurting now as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh, why is this not?
Okay.
It's true, though. It's true.
It's a.
But yeah, God.
I'm just saying it's a vivid but very true example at the same time.
Yeah. Anything, I feel like everything just comes down to like self-awareness as well. Just realizing, again, not all that glitters is gold. Like, just because something looks good on the outside doesn't mean that is perfect on the inside. I mean, there's been a couple of times, I don't know, obviously, like I was mentioning before, I'm a big fruit eater. And a lot of times I bite into apple and wow, the apple looked juicy from the outside, the apple looked right, but then inside it was brown. Nah, man, you can't eat that. You can't eat that. You can't eat that.
It's on the roll.
Hey, these examples, man.
I'm actually done.
Actually, even talking about that, that's why now I don't just bite into apples anymore. Like, I can't actually cut them up before I eat them.
Cut them up before you eat them.
Yeah, I actually do.
Wait, sorry. Just, was it actually brown inside? Because I've never seen that.
Yes, it was brown. Listen, like, I don't understand this. I reckon probably like an insect must have got inside or something, or it must have just been spoiled on that bit. Like, it was actually brown on the thing. It was disgusting. Put me off apples for a minute as well. I'm not gonna lie. So now I actually just cut it up. I just cut it up because you don't know what's on the inside. But yeah.
Like, actually, not even the apple example. When I think of it, sometimes you need to, if I can say, cut up different situations to see, what is actually.
Nah, Ellie, you're reaching.
When I say cut the situation, dissect it and inspect it. Hey, cut the situation.
Man said cut up the situation.
One of my finest hour. Shaker, you see what you're doing to me, man.
Hey. No, that's all you, man. That's all you. Well, God, let's hear it. That's up the situation, and then just evaluate.
I tried to save you. Now I'm almost in the trap. Nah, it's all right.
Oh, man.
Oh, my head hurts at the back.
Oh, my gosh.
If you know you smile so much that the back of your head just starts hurting.
I don't know. Like, there's a pain that's just there. Like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know what it is.
Man,
I think it's when you stretch your jaw too much.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm done speaking at least regarding that example.
Gotta cut off the situation. I really wasn't expecting you to go down there, but you
Jeez.
did.
I said cut up the situation.
Can you imagine?
Jeez,
Hey.
no.
Yeah, you should get that. You should get that on the back of your hoodie as well.
Screaming.
You should get that one. You should get that one on the back of your hoodie. Cut up the situation. I want the speech marks to say 2020. Cut up the situation. In fact, that's the caption for my next photo on Insta. Cut up the situation. Don't worry. I'll give you the credits, though. I'll give you the credits.
I'll report that post to Instagram.
Hey.
Report it as spam.
Hey.
Offensive content.
Of the situation.
My gosh.
If you had something to like analyze the situation, like analyze the apple before you bite into it, you know.
No, but he wanted to use the word, innit? Because cut the apple, innit?
Yeah. Let's get the analogy up with about 20 minutes ago, right? Leave it.
Hey, listen. I feel like that's a good an analogy should be relatable. And I feel like it's relatable to everyone. Everyone's experienced it. So that's a good analogy. Analogy is there to provide an alternative, path in understanding. And I feel like that did.
It was a very specific aid.
Even though it was very unorthodox, it is what it is.
No. I don't know. I feel like in conclusion, people are just like mental. Like we genuinely have problems when it comes to our perception and the fact that like a lot of us will give up everything in the pursuit of nothing is crazy. It's so crazy. And it's like it exists in so many different spheres, right? But I feel like we often talk about the obvious ones, right? Like materialism or like relationships that we see online and social media. But it can even be smaller things like, you know, the example that we had with, you know, the kickers or, I don't know, always wanting more of something that you don't have to the point where you're willing to just risk everything to get it. It must be a form of madness.
It actually is.
Mental.
I think it's also down to the people though who they have some responsibility. People who are necessarily portraying that all they have is all good. Not to say that they have to, you know, display all their vulnerabilities or everything, but they're not as truthful maybe as how they should be. For that reason, because they only show a certain side, a lot of people assume that is what there is to it. You know, there isn't anything else. So,
but then my pushback to that would be, to what extent is it the responsibility of a particular celebrity or influencer to display their entire life in its entirety? And like, do we as consumers or viewers have a responsibility to at least be critical enough to say, okay, they're showing this, but I know that life is not like that? Like,
I think they have, to an extent, a reminder. You know, they should like put out some reminder or kind of disclaimer as to, okay, you know, this is what I have or this is what I do, but you know, this was the road to get here. Or maybe, again, not to air out their own dirty laundry, but, you know, say, I don't know, but I think there's some responsibility. You know, I mean, if you put yourself in someone, probably the shoes of someone that you know, hold in high regards, you know, would you guys not feel some responsibility maybe?
I won't feel responsibility. Like I don't hold it against like celebrities or whatever, but they didn't really, you know, show the steps of how they achieve their wealth or success or whatever. Like, but if it was me personally, I probably will just show, because that's just in my nature. But like, I don't feel like it's their responsibility. I feel like it's more the responsibility of the audience or the consumers to actually be like, okay, be critical and be like, okay, yeah, I know this money didn't just drop from heaven. they obviously did something to get to amass this wealth or whatever.
How about for those, for example, let's categorize this. How about the kids? How about the kids?
Exactly. That's what I wanted to even talk about. I feel like a lot of this thing, a lot of vices, a lot of mentalities, and a lot of different things come from parenting. So like even me, when I have my kids, there's a mindset that I'm gonna instill in these kids. Like it's not just gonna be like, yeah, hey, this is life. Like you could just life is not easy. It is easy, but it's not. You have to work. Like God said that we have to work. You labor. Yeah, that's how you eat. So that's what you're going to have to do. Nothing is just gonna be rosy. Like nothing is just gonna be just given to you, kind of thing. And like I'll even trade them in the mentality that like not all that you see that looks good is always good, and not all that you see is for you as well. Like you need to be able to have a critical mindset. You need to be able to assess situations. You need to be able to read between the lines.
I don't know. I think, but at the same time, you know, in our generation, and I think it's getting worse over time, you know, the young generation like ourselves, even younger, we don't tend, I speak now collectively, we tend not to listen to the people maybe that we should listen to. And if we're talking about society, I think if we work together as a community, those people should have some responsibility to work in conjunction with, let's say, you know, you. It doesn't have to be directly, but to show them that, you know, let's say one thing like you said right now, like life is not this way. It's actually that way as well.
But then would you say is the responsibility, okay, let's just pick a profession. Is it the responsibility of a footballer to say this is how I became a footballer? It's not a responsibility. I can't hold it against you. You know you have to practice. Like you're not just gonna become good. I don't expect Ronaldo to be like, oh yeah, this was my steps. But if he does do it, then yeah, that's just an added factor. But I won't hold it against a person. Like
I wouldn't go as far as maybe to say you hold it against them, but I think you owe it at least again to your community, you know, to do that.
I don't think anyone owes anything. I don't think anyone owes anything.
Do you know what?
Because that can be said. I can say that at any level. That means even at our level as well. I can also say that you owe it on your community, the little community, the whatever community that you have to tell them that this is the way or this is that, or to guide someone in a certain path.
Maybe always is a bit of a heavy word, but there is a bit of responsibility. I really think so. There is.
I think it really depends on a couple of things, right? So I think for me, a better example would be to what extent, and I think a more relevant one right now is to what extent can we like expect celebrities to speak on like social justice issues, or like speak on, say, for example, like social distancing measures and like coronavirus. Like what is the responsibility and roles of people that have influence or platform or whatever kind of celebrity they are in, you know, times of crisis, or like, do we expect them to speak up? And I think two things. If that influencer or celebrity has not built their platform based on a relationship with their community in that way, I would actually side with Shagun. I think in this life, it's terrible, but nobody owes nobody anything. Like it's actually as simple as that. But I think that what we really need to do is, as collectors, but also individuals, we need to reassess our relationship to celebrities. For me personally, I look at some like celebrities and influencers, and I look at their platform, and I look at, you know, the information, I piece together the information about them. But for me to look at them as an overall authority to the point that if a situation occurred, I expect them to come and speak on social justice issues, I think that's absurd. And I think the problem doesn't necessarily just lie with the influencer, because anyone with common sense would know that, okay, there's a coronavirus outbreak, or, you know, this is a good thing to do if you have a platform. But it's absurd to expect it from people, if that makes sense. I think people need to manage their expectations of the role of an influencer or a celebrity. And I think that if they haven't created a brand around that kind of rhetoric, then it's absurd. Like, for example, asking someone like I don't know, who was it recently? I think it was Idris Elba and his wife, believing that they would be able to have some kind of responsible outbreak response to the outbreak. I thought was absurd. Like, did you really expect them to come with a whole like I don't know what people expected from them, and I don't know why. It's like, hold these people in high esteem, but I mean, they're not. I hope they're not, your idols. I just think that as it's speaking to the whole dehumanization process that a lot of people go through when they become an influencer or a celebrity or whatever. People forget that they're human, and can you really expect, like, it's nice, but I think the entitlement and expectation is where all of us go wrong. Like, I'm not surprised when someone's like, oh, I can't believe that somebody didn't support, this social justice movement. And I'm just like, why would you expect that? Why are you entitled to this person to the point that you think that they have a responsibility to speak on this issue? Manage expectations. And even coming back to, sorry, I'm going on because it annoys me so much, but even for like parenting situation, 110%. Like, when people are like, oh, she's a role model to kids. I think there was an argument recently that Nicki Minaj needs to like censor and be more palatable for kids. Kids are not her target demographic. Why are your kids watching Nicki Minaj? Why are you allowing your kids to watch Nicki Minaj? When she started rapping back in the day, she ain't rapping for no kids. What's going on? And just because she has got international stardom, to what extent does she need to now change her brand in order to appease the mythical expectations of a community that she didn't want to appeal to in the first place? It would be different if she had started out and like she wants to build a community of kids and the whole relationship is, she's defined the relationship as so. If she hasn't, why do people create these false expectations in their minds? Anyways, I've really ranted.
But it's true. Like, I remember I was even watching The Last Dance. I can't remember whether it was episode 4 or 5, and and what do you call it? And MJ was saying, like, what was it again? They brought up the whole issue of, I think there was a governor at the time, or someone that was a candidate that was trying to be governor. I think it was in North Carolina, I think. And everyone expected him to just back him because the guy was black and also from MJ's hometown. But he was like, why'd I do that? I don't know the guy. So he was like, yeah, he gave some money towards the campaign, but like, he's not going to give him, he's not just going to promote this guy. He doesn't know him. He doesn't know what he stands for, any of the values or anything. So why would he do that? So yeah, that entitlement thing, yeah, man, that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
I think there's a fine line. I think there's a fine line.
Oh yeah, come on, tell us what the fine line is.
Yeah. Draw the line for us and cut it up.
I think there's a fine entitlement. I feel for me to feel certain entitlement towards, like, aunties and uncles, they feel entitlement, for example, to be at your wedding or whatever, because they took care of you when you were a kid. Anyway, I'm going off a tangent. Entitlement. This episode is just an episode of just funny allergies. Anyway, entitlement, and also, like, again, I feel like I might be, again, walking around in circles, but a bit of the responsibility. I mean, if you're a drill rapper, and you're a drill rapper, as many of them are, that don't do what you say you do, and you find out somehow that someone, BBC News just reported someone has died in a gang war of X, Y, and Z. And I don't know how, but somehow you find out that it was your music that they were listening to. If you're a human, you will feel a certain type of way. Or if, as Shagan's example, you're an athlete, and of course you put in so many hours of work, etc., and as well as people see, the glamour of the life that you live, they don't see the other pressures that you go through. and you do see some people faltering and, believing that it's only side A when there's side B too. I don't know. I think there's something in your conscious needs to kick you to tell you, hey, you need to, you can't see people falling over, things that they shouldn't be falling over if you don't give them a bit of knowledge, information. Again, I'm not saying entitlement. I'm speaking in terms of more of the person, in those shoes, not necessarily the people looking at them.
But you know what? It's entitlement to expect someone to do something based on how you feel. That's entitlement. Expecting someone to do something, that's entitlement. So whether you think it's their responsibility or not.
I proper agree with you.
Guys. Very rare cards.
For me, you can't expect anyone to really do anything. Is in their own bidding to do as they wish. I feel like sometimes, I feel like, again, it comes down to human nature as well. Sometimes we like to say, oh yeah, this person should do this or this person should do that. But again, let's bring it back to ourselves. Which one are we doing? Like, a lot of people are now be saying, oh yeah, some of these guys should, I can't remember, did we bring up the Özil example last week? Özil should give money to charities for COVID-19 or whatever. But this guy he's been doing charitable things. He's been doing all this kind of thing here. But then people are like, oh yeah, because he's got money, he should do that. Okay, so how much money have you taken out of your pocket to go and give to the charity as well? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I think you're
right.
I
know.
But, I don't know.
You know what? I feel like we have the pessimistic view of human nature, and you have the optimistic view. Insofar as you would hope that person in position would you would hope that person in that position would behave in a way that is positive, or like in a way that you think is appropriate. But the thing is, that is what we're saying is the issues. The fact that we expect people to have some, as terrible as it sounds and as basic as it sounds, I don't think that we should have such, it sounds terrible, we should have such high expectations of these people, insofar as like they're not everything that we hoped that they would be. It's really sad. Like, and I think for me, that's from the fact that, like, being a historian and researching all of like my favorite figures and finding out that some of the things that they did, or like some of the things that people know them for, are not necessarily true, was really really disillusioning for me. And understanding that you can't have the expectation that this person will do what you view to be the right thing all the time with their platform, and that's their very prerogative. Using some of the examples that you said with, like, say, the drill artist, you would think that it would be nice for them to kind of like put out a statement and talk about it, but they're not entitled to do so, because ultimately, if you are listening to drill music, that's even coming to the whole thing of like, do we actually have, free will? To what extent are we shaped by our choices, or are we shaped by our environment and the things that we listen to? Because true say, there's a certain person that will go and listen to drill music and may be influenced to go and do something else, but then there's also the case of the other person that listens to drill music and doesn't do anything. So like, how do we account for that? And why is it that response, like, is it really the fault of the drill rapper? And I think, yes, there is definitely some, blame and some fault and stuff like that. I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's more so I guess, more philosophical question as to what extent can we expect an influencer or a celebrity or a whatever to behave in a certain way in response to a particular stimulus. And I just believe that life would be so much easier if we didn't have such high expectations. We just
That's right.
I think it should be encouraged. It should be encouraged, because it's not a bad thing. It should be encouraged.
I agree.
I think it should be encouraged. I don't think, again, fine line. But
unless you're in, do you know what? I feel like if you're a politician, or if you're in public service, or if you're in positions of power and influence that are predicated on you having a transparent and particularly accountable relationship with the wider community, then you must. Like, it's but if I'm looking at a footballer and expecting him to be, doing up 10 toes when it comes to, social justice.
Well,
profession. That's not his job. He's there to kick ball. Why should he not be vocal on this issue? Why should he be vocal on this issue? He's there to kick football. What do you want from him?
I think the lines are blurred because, there are certain extents because, you won't expect most of these people to go and be talking about social justice. Like, we've been listening to Jay for how many years? I don't expect for him to be talking about, black on black crime and stuff like this, even though you should be. I don't know what.
But some people, well, you just said that you don't expect that. You said you should.
No. I don't. But at the same time, obviously, entitled to the fact, why are all these black artists or certain type, of artists talking about the situation, and this one has not mentioned it. It doesn't even mention it at all.
Because he doesn't have the range. He doesn't have the range. Because I feel like when you would like them to speak on a topic too, you also might set yourself up for disappointment because some of them just don't have the range to engage with the situation, and sometimes silence is fine. Like, I think a lot of us in this generation are entitled to the fact that we must actively put our viewpoint forward at whatever means, like, what by any means necessary. When sometimes it is okay to be silent if you don't have the range to give platform to someone else. And I think that's an avenue that a lot of celebrities should actually explore. It's not necessarily, I think a good way to kind of like find a midway between our two arguments is maybe celebrities should platform people or, information that is relevant to a particular thing where they don't have the range. Like, if a footballer was expected to speak on social justice issues, if he said, I don't have the range for this, but here's, some resources you can access, or here's somebody you might want to listen to, then I feel like that is that's a brilliant thing. Brilliant.
Yeah. But even that, I think that counts as what I'm talking, maybe they might not be the front head of that movement or, speaking up on something, but it's even that, it's even maybe even pointing towards something. But then again, I guess I'm crossing into the entitlement territory, aren't I? So...
I'm just happy to be on Renee's team today. No? It feels good.
Let's see how often that happens.
Yeah. I was about to say next one we'll see.
Oh gosh. Again, I think your points are right. But again, maybe I need to keep drawing the fine line, but there definitely is a fine line on this topic. And I don't think it's completely black and white as well. But
for sure.
It's definitely not black and white, but I definitely think there's definitely two sides to it. My side maybe a bit more the dominant side. But
did you say dominant?
Dominant?
We can churn out. We can cut more into apples.
I was about to say you need to cut it up into pieces over there.
Cut it up. You need to cut it up.
It's a good thing I'm not having stomach pains.
Good one. Again, my analogy was a good analogy.
Oh, we thank God that I came with none of these nonsense analogies today. It's all right, guys. I'm the same one here. It's all right.
Man.
Oh, cool. Well, clocking in now. An hour 30. Wow, it's been a long time.
It's been long.
So definitely, those who are listening, those who are watching this, let us know your thoughts as well. Shout us out in the comments, what you think about this topic. If you're siding with me or you're siding with these guys on this, even though it's a balanced argument if we take a step back. to. But I'm waffling now anyway. Unscripted episode, I believe this is 22. Title TBC. I might even scratch that as well. But yeah.